So JD potentially back with Disney and making yet another Pirates of the Caribbean film? Why? Because Disney never blacklisted JD. That's what Pop Topic says that they heard from a source, even going as far as to say that JD, he's actually been in contact to see if he'd be interested in, at the very least, making a cameo in a reboot, proving that he isn't on a blacklist. They go further and they say that the new reboot here, it's been sidelined pending salary negotiations with JD. Their team, they're very optimistic that he'll at least return one more time. Now, you and I, we're going to cover this here. Treat this as a rumor. I will actually confirm what's said in here over the next week. It'll take me a few days. And to me, I see a glaring issue in this. Maybe it's just the wording to it. But when I look at this, I keep wondering, isn't the entire Virginia case predicated on the idea that they did fire the man, that they did blacklist him? So could they bring him back? Sure, they could bring him back. But the wording here, I don't know about, but still, a Pirates of the Caribbean add-on again, that might be interesting. You and I, we're going to talk about this today. Fun times, huh? Fun times indeed. Now this piques my interest. So hey there to all you fine folks on this fine day, by the way. I hope you are doing excellently. If you would, share this video far and wide. That way, Disney, they can be tagged in time and again. Maybe you can make something happen, even if it wasn't planned. Also, feed that pesky algorithm. It loves likes, it loves comments, and it loves you. If you're subbed to the channel, make sure you're still subbed. And if you haven't, well, you don't have to, but those shiny buttons, they're so lonely. So this is the article coming to us from Pop Topic, and I'm going to make sure that this is true or not over the next week. I have sources that will be able to confirm this or not, and I could indeed see Disney wanting to mend fences, and maybe they didn't blacklist JD. As far as firing goes, though, I do indeed believe that they did fire him. In fact, the entire Virginia case is predicated on that notion. So I wonder, when they have a source, is that source, maybe they're miswording things, maybe it's typed up wrong, or maybe this is PR ran by a certain nameless person. You never really know. See, according to their source, they say that this move, it didn't come from Disney. It was external pressure applied by mainstream media cronies of that certain nameless person. They ended up sending over a dozen emails to Disney demanding that they immediately denounce JD, bring to light the claims of, well, you know what those claims were. And after those things came out, the company felt obligated to respond and did so without taking a stance on the situation. They simply went their own way. Now, a fascinating thing about this is I could indeed see Disney changing their mind. Why? Because a certain nameless person went after them in court too, not only demanding more documentation from them, but also demanding sanctions against Disney. And you know what? Disney made it very clear that they were none too happy with that certain nameless person. You can see that spelled out here. Just listen to this. Listen to what they're saying, and you tell me how they felt. More importantly, that nameless person's previous counsel stated to Disney's counsel that they did not want or expect all documents in Disney's possession. During negotiations over the scope of the subpoena, it became clear that their strategy was to show that Disney did not have the documents showing a link between that nameless person's public statements and JD's career, so to minimize her damages. For that reason, they suggested that Disney perform a limited search. Okay, so Disney, they basically do that. Now, after that, you have Disney contacted by new counsel, and the new counselors basically insisted that Disney modify their declarations accompanying the production to state that it had produced all documents, which they didn't. They said that they weren't going to do. Disney, they called this out. They said they're being forced into a classic bait and switch in which one counsel agrees to accept a set of documents, then at the last minute, new counsel says that's not good enough. Disney, they say, hey, we complied. We were overly generous. Yeah, you can tell they weren't happy. And by the way, that nameless person didn't win this either. Now, the reason that I mentioned all of that is because the article, it mentions the way that JD was released. It says again, those letters, they came in shortly after the emails were received. Disney's production chief, Sean Bailey, confirmed that JD was no longer a part of the franchise's future plans. And he noted this here. We want to bring in a new energy and vitality. I love the pirate movies, but part of the reason the writers, you have the writers mentioned there, not going to go with their names, are so interested is that we want to give it a kick in the pants, and that's what I've tasked them with. Now, as far as that goes, I could actually believe that transpired. You have a bunch of cronies of that nameless person contacting Disney, and I could see them relenting and letting go of somebody. The problem that I have with everything that's said here is this idea that there wasn't a firing. There was indeed a firing. You could have had other ideas that were planted that would make the firing transpire, but this was the catalyst that caused it all. You could see that if you go back and look at it, but still, this is what they have to say about their sourcing. Now, their source suggests that the Nameless Ones team, they took that as validation. Even if it was validation, mind you, there wasn't a public statement that was released. And treating Disney like garbage, that could change a lot of minds. But the source here, they say the following. The statement was the confirmation and the validation that a certain nameless person's friends needed to run with stories about how JD's career is ending. I mean, the timing was perfect, but the truth is that Disney were already planning to reboot the franchise before those allegations even surfaced. It all came down to money, the source says. Disney weren't happy that nearly a quarter of the movie's budget was JD's paycheck, even though they made bank in the box office. They wanted to see if they could replicate the success using lesser-known actors with a much smaller budget. A Forbes report corroborates the source's claims, stating that Disney is looking to save around $90 million by recasting JD. Now, their source, they continue with a huge claim here, and I'll tell you about this in just a moment. So their source, they continue. JD has been contacted to see if he'd be interested in, at the very least, making a cameo in the reboot. That alone proves he isn't on a blacklist. I've even heard that the Hodsons, that would be Harley Quinn's screenwriter reboot, has been sidelined pending salary negotiations with JD, and the team is very optimistic that he'll return in some form to the franchise at least one more time. Now, I think I can confirm whether or not this is true. It'll take me about a week to go in and really find out via sources. I'm not throwing that word around, like Hollywood does, quote-unquote sources. You've seen some of the stuff that I've produced here. I have sources that are attached to things. Not going to go any further than that, but I feel like with certainty I can confirm whether or not this is true. Now, the article, it adds even more to this, too, talking about money and on, and it seems very confident in its statements. It notes, quote, JD is likely to accept much less money to reprise his role as Captain Jack Sparrow if his fans, which he has previously praised for all of their support through that nameless person ordeal, are interested in seeing him return as the famous pirate. He even admitted in the past, they go on, that he has been overpaid for the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, which he was reportedly paid over $300 million for all of them combined. Now, as far as Disney is concerned, I could definitely see them doing an about-face, especially after everything that nameless person pulled, because again, it wasn't just bait and switch. They wanted to sue them. They wanted sanctions or money from them because, hey, it didn't turn over enough and I changed my mind. Now, as far as the movies go, too, we know that they want Captain Jack Sparrow. We saw it in a video game, and well, you can't fake the character in a movie like you can in a video game. People, they'll notice and they'll get mad beyond belief. Now, the problem with all of this, though, is the JD portion, because I've heard from sources that would definitely know, 110% would know that JD is not interested in Hollywood again. Now, perhaps he could be enticed by it. I'll find out about all of this. See if this stuff is indeed true. I'll know by the end of the week, but let me know what you think about all of this.